Hello, so it's been quite a while since I did my last book review, but that doesn't mean that I haven't been reading. I've been really busy at work, but now, thank goodness, it's half term, and so I'm finally able to make my YouTube videos. So today I will actually be creating two YouTube videos, two separate ones. The first of which will be reviewing Zadie Smith's White Teeth. Now, this was recommended to me by quite a few people and it seems to be incredibly popular. It seems to be one of those books that an awful lot of people really rate. She seems to be a very well liked writer. People are really impressed by her. And this was bought for me for my 30th birthday by my boyfriend's housemate Jess. So for those of you that don't know the premise of the book, it starts off in the 70s with a character called Archie, and we follow Archie's life in two time periods. And from there we then get a similar setup with several other characters. So Archie's friend and colleague from the war, Samad, his children, Archie and his wife and their child. And so the book takes us through several different time periods, seeing these different people's lives and how they're connected and how these lives unfold over time. And the whole book is actually set in London. As part of this review, I'm not actually going to do a synopsis of the plot, partly because it's quite complex and the plot unravels over several sort of subplots as you see things from different people's points of view in different time periods, although that all connects really well, and by the end you can see how everything has managed to link together, and that's really actually very clever. But I think the first thing that I want to talk about, having enjoyed about this book, is its setting in London. Now, although I don't live in London, it's a place that I'm very familiar with and a place that I really like. And I think that Zadie Smith really brings London as a place to life, and in particular London's multiculturalism. She makes this multiculturalism seem vibrant and exciting, and she also highlights for us as a reader the difficulties that first generation immigrants and their children, in fact, have at kind of reconciling a way of life from where they've come from with a way of life here in England, and so that you get this kind of this view of this very exciting melting pot of cultures. And what she doesn't do is she doesn't shy away from the bigotry that unfortunately does exist, and she makes a joke of it. And I think her writing is really exciting because it not only captures some of the most British of British things, but she also kind of shows this contrast with other cultures as well, and how they combine together. Something else that is really quite admirable about this book, considering it was Zadie Smith's debut and she was in her 20s when she wrote it, is the incredibly lively and amusing writing style that she has. It's not particularly to my tastes. I prefer a drama or a thriller or something with a bit more of a serious tone, but that's not to say that I couldn't recognise the merit of the amusing style of her writing. As I've already said, this book was not particularly to my tastes. I could recognise that a lot of the writing was amusing and lively, particularly the way that she poked fun at bigotry and issues of culture and race. But that wasn't something that I particularly enjoyed, and there were quite a lot of serious topics in this book, including faith, including relationships, and in fact the whole book begins with a suicide, and actually the whole tone of the book was incredibly kind of fun and light. Now, for a lot of people that might be something that they enjoy and they like making light of kind of quite dark situations, but for me it wasn't something that I particularly enjoyed. And again, this whole notion of things being quite British and kind of traditionally British in some of her writing, it sometimes felt a little mundane, like not very much was happening, whilst at the same time these kind of huge events were happening. It made it feel like they were kind of unimportant or not particularly dramatic, and so therefore I didn't feel particularly compelled to read this book. It's quite a long book, it's over 500 pages, but I am quite an avid reader, and it did take me over a month to read this book, and I think that's because I didn't feel that I always wanted to go back to it, and it did at times feel something of a chore for me. However, I think in this case that was a matter of taste rather than it not being well written. So lastly, I'm going to move on to my star rating for this book. Now, I think when I give this star rating, I'm going to have to frame it within the subjectivity of my reading of this, because as I've said, it's really not something that was to my taste or that I particularly enjoyed. And so I'm actually only going to give this 3 out of 5 stars. However, if you are somebody that likes kind of light, amusing writing, where people take things that are more serious and kind of make light and make fun of them, then this would be a book for you. Coming up next will be my review of children's book The Wind Singer.